What's going on, y'all? Today I'm going to be talking about my first impressions after my first run in the Nike Vomero Plus. I believe these just released 2 days ago. I just got them and I just ran 10 miles in the shoe. So here are my first impressions on this shoe. So just to get this out of the way, I am wearing, an Adidas hat and Adidas shirt. I did buy this shoe with all my own money. Don't have any affiliations with Nike. I, may in the past have liked a lot of Nike's running shoes, but I do want to note that I do not like the Nike Pegasus Plus, and I didn't like the Nike Pegasus Premium. Those popped on me, so I am not like a huge Nike fanboy. I do like a lot of their running shoes, but I'm gonna keep this review or first impressions as non-biased as possible. I do like the Pegasus 41s, and I do like the regular Vomero 18s. So with that being said, let's get right into the first run review. So as always, we are going to start off with the outsole of the Vomero Plus. As you can see, it looks like a pretty traditional Nike waffle pattern. Nothing too crazy, honestly, on the bottom of this shoe. I did run that 10 miler on the road on the beach, so there was a little bit of sand on the road and I was slipping a little bit, but I think on regular roads I was doing really fine. The traction was not a big deal and kind of performed how an average outsole would perform. As for durability, I feel like these lugs are maybe on the softer side. They feel kind of like every other Nike running shoes waffle lugs, on maybe a little bit on the softer side. So I do expect to wear through these waffle lugs decently quick, but there is a pretty good thickness to them. So hopefully I won't be burning through this outsole super fast, but only time will tell for that. So overall, the traction and the durability was decent, if not maybe slightly below average, but honestly, I didn't really have any problem running in them today on the beach. Now, moving on to the main event of the shoe, which is the cushion setup. So as you can see, this is a very thick midsole. If I'm not mistaken, I believe they have the same stack height as the regular Vomero 18s, which I personally really liked. The only difference with this setup, I believe, is that this is a full-length Zoom X cushion setup, whereas with the traditional regular Vomero 18s, there was a little bit of React X on the bottom layer of the foam, so that was a dual foam setup, whereas this setup is just full-length Zoom X, which is Nike's race foam. Not exactly sure if this is exactly the same formulation of Nike Zoom X that they put in the Vaporfly as well as the Alphafly, but also I've never really ran in those two shoes, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. I've tried on the Alphafly 3s, but I haven't ran in them. And then as for the Vaporflies, not super interested in those shoes just because I feel like those shoes are really narrow and feel like there's not enough cushioning in that shoe for me personally. But yeah, we're here to talk about the Vomero Plus. So how did this cushion setup feel? It felt really good. I'm not even gonna lie. So a lot of people are saying that since the Invincible line is being replaced or it's kind of being chopped, this is kind of the shoe that's going to replace the Invincible line. So this is technically the Nike Invincible 4. If you were to kind of just look on the spec sheet and kind of look at the shoe shape in general, it does also look kind of like a Hoka. I think Nike's trying to, compete with Hoka now. And overall, this setup felt really good. I'm not even gonna lie. So when you are going at a slower pace, I did run that 10 miler a couple of miles. The first, like maybe 3 miles, I was running pretty easy, around 9:30 to 10-minute pace. And then slowly as the run progressed, every split got faster and faster. And then I ended up sub 8 for my last mile in the shoe. So I ran, I think, a 7:45 or a 7:30 for the last mile in the shoe. So I kind of did a wide range of different paces just to see how the foam would hold up. And honestly, it really held up well in all different paces. The foam is very soft and comfortable when you are running slower, and you do feel a little bit of that response. It's not like the bounciest foam. It's not like a Saucony or a TPU blended foam where it feels really bouncy and responsive, but it does give you a little bit of spring back, which I personally really find comfortable. And Nike Zoom X is one of those race foams that is a little bit on the softer side versus the firm side. So if anything, stability wise, I think that if you are someone that runs in stability shoes or overpronates or supinates heavily, I don't know if this is going to be a great shoe for you, because I did feel like even though there is a decently sized base, I don't think that this is the most stable shoe, especially with such a high stack height. But overall, the cushion setup was very comfortable. Like I said, softer and still a little bit responsive at the slower paces. And when I started to pick up the pace, I was a little bit worried because this is a chunky monkey of a shoe. And honestly, I'll get into the weight after. This shoe feels a lot lighter on foot and more nimble on foot than it looks. It looks like a really big shoe, like a Hoka Bondi type, but it is fairly lightweight, and I think that's due to the full length Zoom X as well as the upper, which we'll get into in a sec. And when I did pick up the pace, the Zoom X really surprised me because I guess maybe I haven't really ran in a shoe with full length Zoom X in a while, but it really firmed up and it felt like more responsive than I remember. Not in the sense of bounciness, but it just firmed up a lot. And with such a high stack of Zoom X, I was a little bit afraid of sinking into the shoe, especially when I pick up the pace. Specifically, I'm sorry, I always have to reference the Brooks Glycerin Max, where I feel like I'm kind of sinking into the shoe and kind of fighting against the foam to pick up the pace. But in this shoe, especially in the forefoot region as well as the heel, the Zoom X kind of transformed into a more firm experience, and I was able to pick up the pace even though there is such a high stack height. I didn't get like a whole lot of ground feel as you would expect in a shoe like this, but it was nice that I didn't feel like I was sinking in the shoe, and the setup just kind of firmed up and it allowed me to run faster and faster as I went into the negative splits on that 10-mile run. So overall, I think that this setup is going to be really, really nice to run in. I'm excited to put more miles in the shoe. I'm going to do recovery runs. I'm going to do a longer run than 10 miles, maybe like 16 to 20. We'll see what the marathon training plan has in store for next week. And then also, yeah, I'm going to try to run faster in the shoe, run slower in the shoe, run, marathon pace in the shoe, and just throw everything at it to see kind of how this setup holds up. Because honestly, with the lightweightness of the shoe, I don't think it's maybe as light as the Asics Super Blast 2, but I recently just ran in that shoe too. This shoe is maybe going to compete with that, especially at the price point of 180 with this cushion setup, the lightweight feel, and just overall the support I feel like this shoe gives me. I think it's going to give the Asics Super Blast 2 a run for its money, and a comparison is definitely going to come soon between this shoe and a lot of the $200 shoes that I currently have. So overall, the cushion setup, amazing. I'm really excited to put more miles on the shoe. I'm also going to compare this to the regular Vomero 18, so stay tuned for that. But overall, the cushion setup is amazing. I'm going to keep putting in the miles, and I will update you guys in the full review if that opinion changes or whatnot. So moving on to the upper and fit of this shoe. I think that this shoe fits a little bit better than the Vomero 18. I thought that the Vomero 18 fit true to size, and this shoe also fits true to size, but I feel like this upper in general feels a little bit lighter weight, and the materials on the upper feel a touch more premium, which I would expect with that price increase. But overall, I was really pleasantly surprised with the upper. It fit my foot very nicely, and if anything, fit my foot a little bit better than the Vomero 18. It's not necessarily at the level of the Pegasus 41's fit. I still think that that Nike shoe fits my foot perfectly, but this shoe fits very well. There's ample room in the forefoot. Like I said, true to size, I do have a wider than average foot, and I did get my regular size and no problems. Midfoot lockdown was really good, and then once I put the heel lock on the shoe, my heel wasn't going anywhere. I did run the first 7 miles without the runner's loop, and my heel was kind of moving a little bit, but it wasn't to the point where I felt like I needed to stop completely and do the heel loop. But my sister actually had to go to the bathroom, so I had a little bit of time to try the heel loop at the mile 7 to finish up the run with the last 3 miles. And I honestly prefer the runner's loop on the shoe. I think that it just feels a lot better with your foot completely locked in. So that is something to note where you do want to do the runner's loop in the shoe. I think it's going to elevate the experience that you have in the shoe. So heel lockdown was really good. The tongue is really, really puffy and has a lot of fabric material. I'm not the biggest fan of this tongue. I think that if they shaved off weight, this would be a place to do it. But overall, the upper, even though it looks like such a big shoe, I think the upper plays a big role into reducing weight of the shoe because it is a pretty thin and light mesh upper. I wasn't expecting this type of upper, especially compared to the Vomero 18s. The Vomero 18s have a little bit thicker of an upper. I will make a comparison video comparing the two shoes, like I said. But overall, the upper and fit were great. Go true to size if you're looking at buying this shoe. And just as an overall first impression from my first 10 miles in this Vomero Plus, I think that this shoe is going to be phenomenal. That's, my hypothesis, but we'll keep putting in miles and make sure that that is true the more miles I put on the shoe. But yeah, I'm very excited to kind of run more in the shoe. I think that this setup is going to be giving a lot of super shoes a run for their money. And the fact that it's non-plated as well is music to my ears because I don't like to run in plated shoes all the time. So really excited to put more miles on the shoe. Let me know in the comment section down below if you guys like the design of the shoe, if you guys picked up a pair. I know I posted a short and a couple of you guys have some pairs ordered and some of you guys have already ran in the shoe. So would love to know your guys' comments and thoughts on the shoe. I personally really love it so far. And can we talk really quickly about this colorway? This is like a light gray that but has like, blue essence or a little purple in it. And I just love monochromatic shoes, or I guess shoes that are all one color. I'm using words that I don't even know, but yeah, really love the colorway of this shoe. The design I think is okay. I don't really like the look of the Vomero 18s, or I don't really like the silhouette of this shoe either, but the colorway is good, and then also the performance is just too good to pass up. So let's see if my thoughts change after I put more miles on the shoe. So stay tuned for the full review. I also do have a couple more comparison videos coming up, not with this shoe, but with some other shoes. And then once I do the full review on this shoe, I will have comparison videos with this shoe as well. So also leave in the comment section down below if you guys want me to compare this shoe to any of the other shoes that I have. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one.